what is it you're actually wanting from this scene? Like, are you wanting it to have a much slower pace compared to the rest of the film, or are you wanting it to get jumpier and make the audience more antsy as they're watching it?
This moment, the reveal, I think needs to be drawn out.
So
it needs to be unsettling to a point that even though we revealed the monster, at this time it would be more of a jump scare in terms of there's the monster, but I think because we've already teased it with the mirror shots, it would kind of be more of an unsettling realization of what's happening.
Yeah.
And then we cut obviously for the running shot, which is when we're coming down from the street. So I think also if you go back,
Move this along.
so when he turns around, I think the first cut should be on him because you need to see the reaction more than the threat.
Right.
So the reaction will probably be better than showing more of the monster.
You want his face so we know what he's looking at before we, the audience, see it.
Yeah. It's like the Spielberg reaction where the reaction of the shot is seen first rather than the actual what they're looking at on the threat.
So when he comes down the stairs, it's about 30 seconds where it's him backing away looking scared. Then as he moves out, we have the reveal of the monster.
Yeah.
Right, at the moment, the monster is sort of cutting, after this bit, it kind of speeds up. He starts cutting between them.
Yeah. I think it does need to, after reveal, it needs to be drawn out. But once the monster's revealed, it's kind of like a back and forth of his reaction now. So it's like the reaction of what's going on, and then the reaction of he finds out what's going on in a way. So that almost amplifies the suspense in that, okay, now the audience have caught up, but now how is he reacting to it?
Yeah. Obviously, since we're cutting up, I've got to try and match it so as he's coming down the stairs each time, he's not getting ahead or behind where he was. He's coming down every time.
Yeah.
So it's one clip that matches. Over the shoulder shot. Just the handle. From where it cuts from where he's out the door to when he's running outside, because there's not an in-between shot, are you wanting just a straight black cut, or are you wanting to sort of pull out of the frame?
Well, we used the camera to pull out, and the shot after is moving back. So I think if it was a continuous, it would be cool if it was a continuous pull out.
Right.
Mainly though, it does need to be a gap in between those two shots, because if it's almost like my point is that I almost wanted to have like a feeling that the audience are like, what the fuck is going to happen now? So that if you have that second, just like literally a second of black of this at the climax of this, and then you cut to, okay, now we see what's going on. It's almost like feeling the anxiety.
You want to go into second to sit with what we're seeing.
Yeah. Because it's confusing for a second, and then but the confusion is what's filling the anxiety.
Obviously, we're going to have to denoise this running effect eventually, but we can do that further along.
Yeah.
Right, so the running shot, obviously we play that almost full length.
Yeah.
When he comes and it cuts to where he's going at the corner, obviously we don't have an in-between shot, so it kind of is just that. But what I thought is if I trim it down, so it's like as he leaves this frame, he enters the other, but we give it just a little bit of space.
I think because we played with camera frames of, rather than the camera moving for the actor moves to the camera.
Yeah.
We did that a lot in this film, because it's kind of like we're watching something we shouldn't be. So if because they keep leaving frame, things like this, as soon as they leave frame, they can begin to enter the next one. And it's almost like we're watching.
Yeah.
It's almost like how Kane feels, especially the fact that
Like-
he thinks he's being watched. Whether
Yeah.
it's true or not is up to him.
So he's running around us, we're not running with him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Straight cuts from when he turns around, sees the monster. Right now he's trapped, it's slowly walking at him. Just straight cuts. We could make them a little longer, just hold on his face a bit more.
So, you know, for that scene, are we able to slow it down just a bit more?
Yeah, the
So,
hands,
yeah,
it goes
because
a bit too
I
fast.
think if it's at this point, it is the resolution. So we've had this intense climax, and it's almost like he's run away from it, but then now he realizes he can't keep running. So then he makes a choice to then, instead of running again, to then stand up and run towards it. So if we slow it down, it's almost like him gathering himself to then attack the situation. Which is also why, like, when we were doing on set with the close-ups, his breathing goes from fast and short to then deep and collected. So if we slow some clips down, it would probably match that a lot better.
Yeah. No, it definitely works slowed down more because I think as a cut it's just too quick, but when it's slowed down it feels more tense.
Then it's in some ways we need to cut it so that it feels like a triumph rather than a defeat.
Yeah.
Because rather than whether he wins or loses now, he's still finally stood up and faced it,
Yeah,
rather than
Is this where like the music's gonna pick up with like post
Yeah.
and stuff? Like cool. Alright, cool, we can revisit that in a minute. Just sort of going through, obviously it ends on, it's just all framed on Luke's face. Obviously we've gone quite close up, do you want to go closer in post, or are you happy with it at this?
I think I'm happy with it at that, because if you go too close, then it feels like it's more that when he faces it and he runs towards it, you won't see that as much. But then also, what I think is good is the way we got close, you can see his facial expressions.
Yeah.
So that means you can see he's angry, you can see in his eyes, and the way he's like scrunching his nose and his eyebrows, you can like see it, he's like, you know what I mean? And I think that's the feeling we need to show it, rather than if we would get too close, it would just be his eyes.
Yeah, definitely. So he has heavy breathing, his face changes from fear to anger, plays out. Then he lunges at the camera, fades black. And then obviously we'll do the credits and stuff afterwards, but I haven't started the animation for that yet.
For the quote, again, I think if we give it a second of black and then it just comes on, and
Yeah.
then it's like, okay, that's it in the film.
Do you want the same length as the other two quotes are before?
Yeah.
Right,
yeah.
cool. So it just gives them room every time it finishes. I think that breaks up the sequences a bit as well, because it's like, after we've seen what's happened each sequence, it like gives them a bit of space.
That's also the fact that nothing's explained, it's only implied. So I feel like having the quote at the end would summarize what it's supposed to mean, but also like you take it back, it's like, well, you have to think about it.
Yeah, I'd say it connects the first two quotes as well, because
Yeah.
it's his journey from being trapped to being afraid, and then now to this. How that works. Obviously, we'll revisit later when we're going through with the entire timeline. But are you happy with sort of how I've cut the end scene for this for now?
Yeah, I think we do, because we took a lot of shots, so like the Kurdish behind the head one, so things like that will sell it in the fact that
Yeah.
we have the two people in frame, so then it's almost like, oh, it is actually real.
Yeah, it makes it less, because throughout a lot of it he's just looking, and then you
Yeah.
see it's either one or the other. Obviously, then we've got this shot. It's like, oh no, there's actually two of them in frame now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I think fact that we have those shots to play with makes it drawn out more, especially towards the beginning, which works.
It breaks it up as well, so it's not all straight like parallel cuts. It's got like a nice clean over the shoulder.
I feel like it would be cheap as well if we only did parallel cuts, because then people know it's just him and him, and we've just shot it 2 different ways.
Yeah.
But to add that type of shot in, means we can make it longer, so that the unsettling feeling is like stretching more.
Yeah.
And then it also breaks it up with the fact that there is 2 people there. So it adds to the realism that this could be real, or it might not be. It's your decision.
Yeah. It gives the audience a bit of something to think about. Cool.